Welcome, everyone. I'm Linda Larsen. I'm an international conference keynote speaker and author, and I have the distinct honor of hosting this evening's Heart Talk episode. For those of you who might be new to this series, Hearts Talk is the creation of the amazing Amina Lilo of Stella Polare Boutique Events. Her mission, as I understand it, was to create a community of accomplished, talented, purpose-driven women who could come together to share their work and their struggles and to support and lift each other up. And this has been an amazing series so far. Our guests have been nothing short of stellar, and today is absolutely no exception. Before I go any further, I would like to invite all our guests and panelists to please put their contact information, your email, your website address, etc., in the chat box so that we'll be able to connect with each other in the future, because I know we're all going to want to stay connected. So please jot that information down in the chat box. And if you have any questions for any of our guests, feel free to put those in the chat box as well. Amina and I will be monitoring the comments and questions as we go along, and we'll make every effort to answer everyone. And I am so excited to introduce to you the amazing Sangeetha Shine Tee. Sangeetha, I want to introduce her, and then we're going to see a little video, and then she's going to talk to us. But let me give you a little bit of her background. She's an author, editor, and healer who has almost 30 years international experience in magazine development, fiction writing, and helping women and men deal with their everyday lives. Her diverse background includes writing 4 books of short stories: Aman Story, A Moral Murder, the Book of Anglo-Indian Tales, and most recently, The Naked Indian Woman, which we are going to hear more about today. Her books have received excellent reviews by BBC, Femina, The Week, The Hindu, The Tribune, and other publications. She launched and edited 2 cultural magazines in the Middle East, held the editorship of the Business Innovator in Europe, and was principal correspondent and chief copy editor with the Times of India. She was a judge on the London-based 5-Stop Story Contest and the International Hot Monde Beauty Pageant. She's been published by Femina, Savvy, Reader's Digest, and was one of the highest read contributors of the globally acclaimed blog, tbox.com. As a healer, she's worked globally with victims of domestic abuse, depression, rape. And The Naked Indian Woman is a book of the stories of 16 everyday women from India: a housemaid, a lawyer, a doctor, the doctor battling COVID-19, a single mother. And now, more than ever, is the time to hear the voice of the unheard women of India. They are speaking out bravely without fear of shame or social ostracization. They want to inspire other women, just ordinary women, just like themselves, to start speaking their truth by sharing their often painful histories and lifting the veil on the unspoken. This anthology covers sexuality, social judgment, divorce, education systems for women, domestic slavery, parental control and interference, in-laws, misogyny. These are the stories of the battles and triumphs of every Indian woman, and this book is to salute their everyday courage and amazing resilience. In fact, 2 of the women whose stories are in the book are here with us today. Clarilda Sharon, writer and editor of the Indian National Academy daily newspaper, is also a motivational speaker, inspiring people through her YouTube channel, Aina Talks. We also have Rini Falgunan, a fashion designer and owner of Rini Couture, and winner of the Times Best Western Designer Award in 2019. We look forward to hearing from them as well. But first, we are going to hear from Sangeetha. And before we hear from her, another mention, we have some other people in our panel with us today in our gallery, and they will be contributing as well with questions and thoughts and ideas that they can share as well. I know we have the amazing Katie Curran with us, who is a filmmaker from around the world and has done just amazing work uplifting young people on this planet. We also have Isa bin Mahfouz, who is here with us, and she'll be contributing as well. So we have a great panel of people today. And before we hear from Sangeetha, we are going to show you a little short video. So Amina, would you be kind enough to show that video for us?
When I first spoke up and confessed the story of my lost childhood.
But she thought her intelligent mind working overtime. Isn't education more than this? Shouldn't a place of learning be, well, a place of learning and unlearning?
How tough is it to be an army wife, especially when things go wrong?
And do they know that accident of birth is all that separates them from me?
While men were kings, they were oblivious to who the kingmakers were.
I am female, I am Indian. My thoughts, my life, my soul are not mine, but belong to my parents, my husband, and a society that worships mothers and reviles daughters.
He raped his own daughters, this man. But alas, his daughters refused to speak out.
Just because I was born a woman.
And I'm every woman that is helpless in the face of this horror.
And she was powered by that greatest of all forces, a mother's love.
I'm not an object or a subject of discussion.
I refuse to be confined to convention.
I'm not someone's pillar. I am my own momentum.
I have a soul, and these words will set it free.
This is for every woman. This is me.
This is the naked truth. Be part of the stories of the naked Indian woman.
Wow. Yeah, I know. That's very powerful, and it makes me want to know more. Sangeetha, thank you so much for what you are doing. This is, you told me earlier before we started that you were passionate about women that you feel right now are not getting this, but you're passionate about women having the opportunity to have a voice. And right now you said they don't have that, that you are committed to giving them the opportunity to be heard. Would you please tell us more about this, about your work, about this book, and what has led you to this?
Firstly, Linda and Stella, Amina, thank you so much for having me on here. And Katie Curran, it's absolutely fabulous to meet you, by the way. So about the voice, I'm 49, or at least I will be 49 in about a month. And for 49 years, I've been silent. I've been silent because my culture, because being female, because being dark-skinned, because being a minority pretty much wherever I've gone, even in my own country, I have been denied a voice. I've not been allowed to speak out, talk about the troubles I've had. And this is a basic human right, to talk about the sorrows we go through. This should not be denied to anybody. At the beginning of lockdown, I was, sort of reading about all these amazing women out there in the world and how they were sort of, from Oprah Winfrey to, sort of Priyanka Chopra and Arundhati Roy, how they were handling the COVID situation and pandemics and lockdowns. And all I could think was, well, these are a lot of women who are incredibly protected by privilege. They're protected by their status. They're protected by being celebrities. And at the other end of the spectrum, you have the extremely underprivileged who are protected in some ways by the very lack of privilege because people feel sorry for them. And so they kind of get a hearing. But then there's women like me and Rinny and Clary and a whole bunch of others that I know, that I work with even, we don't get a voice. We don't get to talk. We're just supposed to take it all, take the misogyny, take the patriarchy, you know, the shame that should be everybody else's is thrust on us. And we're just supposed to take it. We're just supposed to be silent and endure and be strong and yet be soft and look after our families. And I just got so tired of it after all this time. And I said, right, you know, I'm a writer. I'm going to write the stories of women. And I'm going to write my story, which is the last story in the book called I'm an Indian Woman. And I discovered that all women have a uniform story. It doesn't matter where in the world we come from. You know, it doesn't matter whether we're Western, whether we're white, whether we're black, yellow, green, pink, you know, short, old, thin. We have similar journeys. We are all absolutely silent on the truth of what we go through. We don't talk about our daily trauma and suffering. We don't talk about it when a boss tries to put his hand up our skirt. We don't talk about it when we are set aside just because we are female. In my country, 10 million women under the age of 10, girls, have gone missing in 10 years. This is genocide. No one's talking about it. 8 out of 10 women in my country experience domestic violence. The global average is 1 in 3. No one's talking about this. We're sure we're talking about it, but no one's doing anything about it. The laws are there and everybody says it's wrong and we women are saying it's wrong, but somehow the status quo is not changing. And I think the first step to changing things is talking about it. And that's how this book was born, because I need change to happen. I don't want what's happened to me to happen to you. I don't want it to happen to Clary. I know Renee's been through a lot. She has a daughter. I don't want it to happen to her daughter. I don't want it to happen to Amina or her daughters or anybody else. And this is what this book is about. It's about getting a conversation going about the everyday woman and what we go through. And we go through a lot, silently, and it's time to break the silence.
Wow. Well, you are so right. And I think I don't know what the statistics are in various countries about how many women have been abused or sexually assaulted, or I don't know what the numbers are. They are staggering. Every time I read one, I can't believe it's true. However, then I think back in my own life, where of all the situations I had, and there were multiple situations, I think on some, here's what's so wonderful, Sangeetha, is I think everyone has something that they can relate to what you're doing and what you're saying. I think on some level, everyone can say, yeah, and the term we use here in the United States was Me Too.
Yes.
Me too. And I think there's a lot of us who are saying, me too. And I would like to speak up, but I didn't know it was okay. What you're doing is you're giving people permission to speak up and almost wrapping them in a cocoon of protection, saying, we're going to protect you. It's okay. You can do that. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the women that you talk about in your book?
Well, I interviewed almost 160 women. And my only question to all of them, these were Indian women from around the world, people living in Australia and Canada and Dubai. And it's incredible, the similarity of all their journeys. My only criteria was you have to be able to put your real name, your real age, and your real location on this. I'll write it for you. You don't have to do very much. I will do it all. You know, but you just have to tell me your story, and you have to tell me the truth of who you are. You have to be brave enough to do that, because this has to be authentic. It has to be from the heart, and they have to be real, because it's very easy to write these stories. These are everyday stories, and we all hear the horror stories. If you don't put someone's real name down, then you don't know how authentic it is. And this gives women the guts to say, hey, you know what, if she's going through it, I'm going through it too. And it's easier to then come forward and say, somebody else has been brave, I can be brave as well. So that was the criteria. Of the 160 odd women that I interviewed, 15 besides me were able to do this. And even of those 15, some of them took some convincing. It wasn't easy. We have a grandmother who's written about her journey as a young girl from the ages of about 11 to 21, where she was sexually molested by her own stepfather, where her mother saw this happening to her and her mother did nothing. There's the story of Clary. She will share that with you in a bit. Rini, who's been through 2 traumatic marriages and faced all the crap that an Indian woman can go through. There's a story of my own housemate called the Rani of Jhansi, and I'm very ashamed to say that she worked for me for 15 years and I had no idea what she'd been through until the time that her sons sat down and told me a story. I'm deeply, deeply ashamed of myself on this one. There's a story of a young girl. She's a doctor. Her name is Pallavi. Pallavi had to divorce her husband because she found her husband cheating on her. And the excuse he gave was that she was not a virgin when she got married. Never mind the fact that she had been sleeping and she'd had a sexual relationship with him prior to their wedding. It goes on. There's a story of a young lawyer who writes about her education and how the education system did not serve her, and how in this college she was getting up every day where she was training to be a mathematician. And she was told to pray every day so that God makes her a good homemaker. This was the prayer every morning in her college. And it just goes on and on. There's a young girl who writes a love letter to her parents, and she says, you know, you gave me at 23, you decided I was old enough to get married and have children, but apparently I wasn't old enough to decide who I should get married and have children with. This happens every day across the world. You know, our human rights are being trampled upon. And I have been a feminist, and a very quiet feminist for the most part. And I thought, you know, you need to be quiet, you need to be, you know, try and go with the flow and work from within the system. This doesn't work. You have to be out there, you have to be outrageous, because at the end of the day, the enemy of feminism is not men. The enemy of feminism is patriarchy, and women can support patriarchy even better than men can, in my experience. And this book is about trying to get a conversation around this, getting women to see we face enough. We don't have to turn on each other like spitting cobras. We really don't need to do this. We need to band together, because when we put our arms around each other and we hold each other up, oh my God, we can rise, and oh my God, how we can rise. So yeah, it's just story, and there's story upon story. I mean, all of us have these stories. This is not unique to India. I've seen it in Bahrain, I've seen it in Jordan, I've seen it in Greece, I've seen it in Canada, I've seen it in the US, I've seen it in England, I've seen it in Belgium. Women go through a lot, and we don't have to.
How long did it take you to do all the interviews, and then how long did it take you to write the book?
It took me about 3 weeks to write the whole book up. It took me about 2.5 months to interview everybody. And then it took me a while to find the right publisher, and I was pretty certain I wouldn't find a publisher for this. So I just went ahead and self-published.
Good for you. Good for you. So I've had this image of you somewhere in your lifetime, growing up in an environment that does not support this kind of thinking. Somewhere you went, this isn't right, and I have to do something. When did that happen for you?
I think when I was about 16, I come from a very small family, which was very abusive. My brother got to go to the best colleges, got the best education. I was denied medical care. I was denied, I was just denied everything a human being should be denied. And unfortunately for most of India and society and my family, I had a brain which actually, you know, sort of made me think. I remember my mother, when I was about 16, got very cross with me. She said, oh, you only want to talk to boys. You only want to talk to boys, 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 boys. That's all you're interested in. And I turned around and I asked her, I said, do you want me to become a lesbian? Would that make you happier? And this was apparently not the right answer. Going further into sort of college, I remember we you know, as young college girls, we were not allowed to participate in intercollegiate fest. This was a college run by nuns, and I think they were trying to turn me into one, and they weren't very successful, I'm afraid. So I remember I finally got an invitation to an intercollegiate fest, and you know, we're this little college up in the mountains, very isolated, very protected, very secluded, and I went running into my principal's office, a principal I very kindly nicknamed Attila the Nun. And Attila the Nun looked at me and she was very upset. I'd barged in and I said, sister, we've got this invitation. Can I get a collection of girls and go and participate in this festival? And she picks up this cane on her desk. I'm 19 years old at this time, I might add. And she waves it at me and she says, Sangeetha Shine Tee, do you know why I don't let the girls go down to the plains for these sorts of things? And I very curiously asked her, I said, no, sister, why? And she says, because they have things like free sex down there. And I said, sister, you mean we can't charge? And I almost got suspended for my flippancy. And this is, been sort of a repeating pattern in my life. I think India doesn't tolerate women with a brain or a sense of humor, unfortunately. But it got me thinking way back from a very young age. I decided at the age of 16 that I would not have children because the planet has enough humans. I became an environmentalist way before it was fashionable to do so. I became a vegetarian at the age of 4 because I saw chicken's head being cut off, and I decided I will not participate in animal cruelty. They have every right to exist as much as me. And there's just something within me that was different. And there are a lot of women who are doing different things. I'm not alone in this. There are lots of women like yourself and Amina, who think differently. And it's been a process, but getting the voice out, being brave enough to stand up and say, this is me, that took 49 years. And I think it was just born on the back of incredible frustration of having come back to my small hometown, being subjected to the same drama, the same ostracization, the same sort of spite and bitterness, and the same levels of meanness that I encountered 35 years ago, where I finally said, I've had enough, I'm going to talk, and it doesn't matter if people don't like me, because when you take a journey like this, most people are not going to like you. And I'm finally learning to be okay with it. It was learning to be okay with being unpopular that actually gave me a voice.
That was going to be my next question. This was not an easy path for you. You just didn't go, you know what? I've not been heard. No, women are not being heard. I'm going to fix that. And then the seas parted and you just had an easy path of it. I am sure you encountered a lot of resistance. Can you tell us about that? Like, do you remember any specific instances where people said, you can't do that, that's wrong? I mean, like when you started doing your work, not just when you were young and, which is bad enough, but when you stepped out there and started doing your work and they said, no, you can't do that. Not only can you give us an example of that, but how did you think in order to be able to push yourself past that? Why didn't you stop? Why didn't you give up? A lot of people would have. Why didn't you?
Because I've given up so many times in my life. My first marriage was ridiculous. I had my eardrum broken, my nose broken, my fingers broken. I had a rib cracked, a lung punctured, kicked in the stomach, kicked pretty much everywhere in the head. I've had my head slammed into a wall. I've been slapped about. I've had kerosene thrown on me, and I stayed silent. I didn't say anything because it's just so hard to speak up. You're so scared of shaming your family. You're so scared of rocking the boat. You're so scared that people will not accept you. And people did not accept me. I've tried in recent years to tell people about the abuse I've suffered, and people just say, oh, but everything's okay now. So, don't worry about it. Forget about the past. That's not how life works. And I have given up. I've tried to kill myself twice. I'm a survivor of that. And I think that was the hardest battle I actually fought, just overcoming that need to say, I can't go on anymore. And it's what propelled me into becoming a healer, because I don't want any other woman to feel that she can't go on. I don't want any other human to feel that she can't go on. Strength is not something that you're born with, I think, and it's not something that you just decide one day and get up and say you're strong. I think strength is every time you open your eyes in the morning and you say, you know what, just one more day, I'll stick on just one more day. That's strength. And that's what I do. And that's what millions of other human beings do. I don't think I'm particularly strong. I have moments of great weakness, great moments when I want to give up and say I've had enough. But, every morning it's just that, okay, fine, maybe tomorrow will be better. That's strength.
I want to take a moment to stop and validate what you are saying and what you are doing, because here's why I think this is so important, why this book is so important, why your voice is so important, why everyone's voice is so important, because there are so many people who are experiencing this and they have such fear and such shame surrounding it that opening their mouth to speak about it is torture. It's torture to even think about doing that. But when they have an example of someone like you or the women in your book who had things maybe even worse than they do, and you stood up and you kept moving forward in spite of that. That is inspiring, Sangeetha. That is inspiring. And it changes the world when you do that. It does.
Thank you. If it changes the world, this book changes the world for one woman, I will be happy. I will be really happy if one woman walks out of her abusive marriage, if one woman stands up to her parents and says, no, I will not marry that man just because you're selecting him. If one woman takes a brick bat and beats her man across the head, or whoever is, I will be very, very pleased my job is done if it's just for one woman. I'm a very small person. I'm a nobody. I'm not sure how far this book is going to get or how far my voice is going to get, but one woman is good enough.
And one woman added to one woman, added to one woman, added to 10 women, added to 100 women, changes everything. And it has to start somewhere. And apparently this particular thing has started with you. I mean, there are probably other people who've spoken up, but you are making some really big waves. I want to stop here because I have so many questions for you, but we have a panel of people and I'm sure some of you have questions too. So is there anyone else who would like to ask Sangeetha a question? Oh.
Something going on.
Must be this mic.
Oh, yeah, now it's gone.
Now it's good.
Oh, now you're gone too, but there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi. Sorry about that. First of all, I'm so honored to hear you speak, and I cannot wait to read your book. It resonates very deeply. I've done a little bit of similar work with a play that I wrote called The Day I Opened My Eyes, about 5 American teenagers who step into the footsteps of 5 people from around the world. And one of the stories is about a young woman from Nepal who is, and there's another one about a young woman from Pakistan. And they were faced with very similar cultural abuse and systemic violence. And it is so crushing. As I wrote it, I felt so crushed. I mean, it feels to me the immensity of that goes beyond, yes, we have the Me Too movement here in the US, and which is spreading across the world. But what you're talking about is a deep cultural oppression of the female sex. And I feel, and it's violent and it's frightening, you know, that you can be gang raped on a bus or beaten by a spouse. And the amount of courage that it takes to speak up and to write a book and to start a movement, I am in awe. You are a hero. What I feel like I'm listening to is a hero's journey, that you started out on this path. You didn't know where it was going to take you. You went down into the depths. You interviewed people. You found your purpose. You made a sacrifice, a personal sacrifice of making your story heard. And in that, you found your voice. You found your purpose on the planet. And now you are inspiring others to do the same. And I feel that it is an epic hero's quest. And I commend you. And I am so honored to meet you on this call. And thank you to Linda and Amina for arranging this. And I guess my question would be, have you felt any personal threats to you, to your physical well-being as a result of writing this book? And what are your future plans with the book as you move forward?
Well, I haven't had any personal threats, but I do know that almost everybody I know in my small hometown has virtually stopped talking to me because of it. And I imagine that those ripples are going to extend, and that's going to be okay, because, you know, I guess when you go on a journey like this, you have to walk it alone. You're not going to have a lot of support, but it's wonderful because there are women like you and, you know, women like Amina, and they'll come forward to take their place. But yes, I do expect there is going to be a lot of backlash as it takes off. These are not popular views. We're not allowed to talk about these things as a general rule. We do, you know, on the whole part, we have powerful women leaders. This is a nation that worships Shakti in all its, you know, Shakti, which means power, in all its various forms. And I'm not saying it's entirely terrible. I'm just part of a wave of change, you know, and I'm glad to be part of that wave of change. That's all I can say. What's going to happen in the future, I don't know. All I hope is that every woman, especially every Indian woman, buys a copy of this book and she buys another copy and gives it to an Indian man that she knows. This is all I ask for. I have specifically priced it to be as affordable as possible. I've made the stories as readable as possible. They're all in free verse. I've tried to make it as impactful as possible. I just want people to read it. I just want people to get to know about it. And anybody who can come forward to help me spread the word, I will participate with anyone, talk to anyone, help anyone. It's a blanket statement. As a healer, all my work is done absolutely free. Any woman who wants to contact me can get in touch with me through Facebook, Instagram, email me. I don't care. I will work with them. I will walk with them because I need people. I need women to take this forward.
This is so exciting, Sangeetha, because here's why. What you're doing here is you are speaking this in every format that you can, on every platform that you can. That's what I think you're doing. And here's what's going to happen. One person is going to hear you, and they're going to share your story with someone else, who's going to share it with someone else, who's going to then share it with someone else. And pretty soon this takes off and creates a life of its own. And I think with your passion, so you have this idea and you have this mission, but without the passion, it would be a mission just sitting on the floor somewhere. You have this passion that drives you to be able to bring this to the world so that people can see it. So, I mean, I know personally, me listening, I bet I'm not the only one. I'm thinking, who can I tell about this? I want this, I want this to be turned into a movie. I want this to be known by everyone. So of course I will be sharing your information. So of course, please, oh please, put any information in the chat box that you can in terms of where people can buy your book, your website or your email address or anything you have, because I know people are going to want to get a hold of you and get in touch with you. We have a question in the chat box, and I think it's a very interesting question. And I had to stop and think about it when I saw it. And she said, the question was, it was in here somewhere. The question was, what makes you brave to talk? What makes you brave enough to talk?
Stupidity, primarily. Yeah, I'm one of these, you know, Don Quixote tilting at windmills constantly, I think. No, what makes me brave enough to talk is because somebody has to do it. It may as well be me. I've been hung for so many crimes. I've decided to do this one finally.
Well, you know, I read somewhere, I don't even know who it was. I hope the quote was, the person who has a strong enough why can accomplish anything. The how doesn't matter if you have a strong enough why. And that's what you have. Your why is so important. Why you are doing this, to help other women, to make sure they get a voice. Your why is so strong that it would be like, most people go, you just better get out of her way because she's going to do this. And if you don't get out of her way, she's going to just roll right over you. That's the power of a mission, right?
It is. It is. It is. It's important to have a mission in life. And I think it's really important to discover your purpose. And for me, yes, I think this is my purpose, primarily because I've walked this journey. I know what it's like to see a fist come out and punch you in the nose. I know what it's like to be lying by the side of a road and the dust being kicked in the stomach. I know what it's like to be homeless I started life living on the streets of Bangalore in India because I ran away from home because it was just so bad for me in this small town, in this whole family social abuse that was going on. I know what it's like to go hungry without food for 2 or 3 days. I know what it's like to be broken and bleeding and not have anyone come to your aid. So yeah, this is my purpose. I don't want anyone else to go through it. I have an open home. Anyone can come in whenever they want. They have access to food. They have access to health. They have access to a clean bed, whatever is needed, whatever I can provide. And I think this is something we all need to do each other. At the end of the day, Linda, at the end of the day, we're all just walking each other home. I really believe this. We're walking each other home. And it's up to us to make that journey as pleasant as possible for the person who's alongside us. This is not a hard thing for any of us to do.
Oh my gosh. I also would love to hear from everyone. Rennie and Clorilda, you're both in the book. Your stories are in the book. So one at a time, could I ask you please to share what this experience was like? I mean, you can tell about your story if you would like, but I really want to know, where did you summon the courage to tell your story? So I'll start first with Clorilda.
Hi, everyone. So the courage I got was because the incident I faced just a week before I wrote for this book. So what happened was, somebody in Instagram created an account in my name and then circulated my number offering sexual favors to random men across the world. So I was receiving all sort of filthy messages in my WhatsApp, the men asking sexual favors. And then I was really shocked. And then I filed a police complaint. And then immediately police came to my home. And then my parents were really at shock because I was not really comfortable sharing this with my parents. And at that moment, I felt it was right to call the police. And then once the police left, my parents were really furious. My dad almost, he came to slap me that why I had an Instagram account. He literally asked, like, it was not necessary for girls to have social media accounts. And then my mom, she called her friend who was a police. And then she apparently spoke to me. And then I explained to her that whatever happened to me. And then she told me that it's okay. It's okay because this happens to a lot of women. And it's okay. You just change your number and just move on. Don't make a big issue out of this. She told me that. A female cop told me this, not to make a big issue out of this. So, and that is when I thought I need to speak about this. Because apparently, because of my parents' pressure, I didn't file a complaint on that person who did this to me. But then I thought I need to talk about this because a lot of women are facing this. This happens to a lot of women around the world, around the country, especially in India. And I really wanted to talk about this. And that's when Sangeetha, she came forward. And then I thought maybe, this is the right platform for me to just express whatever happened to me.
And what has happened since then? What kind of feedback have you gotten from having your story in the book? Do your parents know?
Yes, they know. And they didn't talk to me for a week. That because I had written about them also. So they were like, if people read this, what they would think about us. But I had written the truth. And if we keep quiet, this is going to continue to all women, to all the girls especially. Because since my childhood, anytime I have a fight or conversation with my mom that leads to an argument, she tells me that if you talk like this to your husband in future, he's going to kick you out of the house. So since childhood, I was told that you must not talk even to your husband or even to your mother-in-law. Because if you raise your voice or if you cast your opinion to them, they're going to kick you out of the house. So this is what my parents used to teach me. And definitely I thought, I should like, if not me, then I don't think anybody would come forward. And the response I received from my friends were like, Clary, if I was in your place, my friend said, if I was in your place, I don't think I would have done this. I would not have come forward and I would not have been so brave to write all these. But you have done it and we are really proud of you. That's what my friends told me.
Well, I'm very impressed that you did, and change doesn't happen until people start
Yes.
making the changes. And you're certainly one of the ones who has done that. I'm very impressed with all of you. And also, Rennie, where are you? There you are. Hi. Rennie, can you share with us a little bit about your story and how did you feel when Sangeetha came to you and said, would you talk to me and would you let me use your name and be authentic and truthful about your story? What did you think? And tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, so Sangeetha and me have known each other for many years. We've worked together years ago and then we lost touch and connected again and all of that. So she actually knew the entire thing. She knew what I was going through and my first marriage, second marriage. When we connected, I think it was while I was in my second marriage. And I used to talk to her. She used to call me. I think we used to talk very frequently and I used to tell her what I was going through. And then, so recently when she called me and she said, yes, she wanted to do this, I was more than happy to do it because for me, if this could change somebody's life in any way, another woman, I mean, I said, yes, I am ready to do that. So that's the reason why I did it. And I don't want this to happen. I have a daughter who's 18 and I don't want this happening to her. And she has seen all of it, whatever I have gone through in my 2 marriages. And so that was the reason I did this. And my story, of course, is there in the book. It was 2 marriages. I'm not saying it wasn't good at all. Yes, but whatever I have gone through there is something I would not want any other woman to go through. And so
did you get any feedback from anyone or did you get any negative?
Yes, so a lot of my friends have bought these books, including men, and nobody knew I went through this. Nobody knew except for 1 or 2 of my close friends. Rest of them didn't know. So the feedback I got from, especially from guy friends, men, they were like, wow, we didn't know you went through so much and you never spoke about it. When you come out and you meet us and, we've known you for so long and nobody would ever say that you have gone through something like this. So I've only got positive response from everyone, whoever has bought this book.
It's interesting. There is some research that was done measuring the health, the actual physiological health of women who speak up and women who don't. And the health of the women who speak up was infinitely better. They actually live longer than women who don't speak up. And I think I have my own theory about why that's true. And I definitely want to hear from some other people too. But Sangeetha, why do you think that would be true, that women who don't speak up are actually less healthy?
I'm going to come at this from the point of view of a healer.
Okay.
When you suppress everything, you lock in all this pain, you contain it within yourself, and that sort of, it's almost like it turns on you and starts attacking you from the inside. You start becoming sick. There's documented evidence that children who've been through childhood abuse and haven't been able to speak up about it or haven't dealt with it have a far higher incidence of autoimmune disorders than children who've actually had the help or who have had happy homes. And it's the same thing. When you don't talk about abuse, you're like a pressure cooker. It just builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it explodes into either mental illness or physical illness, often both. But when you do speak out, it gives you some sense of closure when you speak out. When you are heard, when you are validated by an external source, even if it's a friend or it's a therapist or whoever it might be, it releases a lot of pain. And when you release pain, you just release all this negative energy and you just, create space for better things to happen inside your body.
Well, I think that's a great segue to maybe bring into the conversation Asa bin Mahfous and Britta Simon from the Middle Eastern Resilience Institute, who are here with us today. They're in our gallery and they have experience with this exact kind of thing. And I would love to hear from them about what do you see happening here in terms of what Sangeetha is creating and how it can make a difference for other women who are experiencing the same thing. Asa, could I start with you?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Sangeetha, and thank you, Amina, and everyone who's attending today. This is like a very sensitive topic, yet it is very critical and essential for the well-being, especially for the women and children. Sangeetha, you inspired me, and I'm sure that everyone had like read your book or attended your sessions or heard your voice. You inspired them, and you are inspiring them to take their power back and speak up, because I believe that when you suppress those negative emotions and the abuse, like the cells in our body becomes like, less healthy, and the immune system get affected. And by the time like they are adults, they just get used to suppress that emotions because they get used to the pain, and that's their comfort zone. Linda was talking about like why you are speaking about it, why you are giving it a voice. I know that the pain was so much that gave you the power to speak instead of just, staying silent. Sometimes like the pain is so much that it give you the power to go beyond your comfort zone. And I have seen that in so many women, and not even women, even children. And unfortunately, those days, it's not only women, Sangeetha, it's like both genders. And there is an organization, which is, I think it is a RASAC organization. I will post it here. It is like an organization to help both genders, female and males from age 13, to support them and help them, even if they got like sexual assaults. So now the role of communication, Linda, I know why it is important, but also how to address the issue, it is very important. How to raise our children to speak out, speak up, how to express their emotions. If they get abused or assaulted, how they can express it, and being supported, not like seeing them as a taboo or something which is, culturally is unprotected. Because what happens here is that the victim becomes like the one who we challenge him or her.
Right.
So this is not the case. You have to put the camera back on the people who did it, the people we have to protect our children, women, even male, female, children, whomever. I consider this, it's like, it is a universal issue, Sangeetha. So this is what I wanted to say, and I'm so proud of you. And you inspired me so much, and I am going to read your book and just be there and keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asa. I would like to also, Britta, could you please add to that? Because this is the work you do as well. So what could you add to this conversation in terms of how much these people need help and what they're going through, and what is the best avenue to help them speak up?
Yeah, thank you, Linda. And again, good evening from near Berlin in Germany. And congratulations, first of all, also to Amina and Linda for creating this absolutely emotional. I'm very moved and I'm very touched. And this event is an absolutely amazing event again, and it's getting better and better and better. I've got the opinion. And thank you to the ladies also for sharing their opinion. Well, it's well, I can only tell Sangeetha and the other ladies, we hear you. We hear you, and we are here for you. Absolutely. We are, with our compassion, we are here for you. And for me as a trauma specialist, I can only confirm that suppressed emotions, definitely, they raise the cortisol level, the stress level. And literally the whole body gets overflown or overwhelmed with toxins. Yeah, there are a lot of toxins going on, and this makes people sick. This, of course, this is one of the physical effects of not speaking up and so forth. And sometimes it really takes us to get to the lowest level where we simply cannot take anymore, to rise and to speak up. And this is what I can see also in you ladies. And the most important thing is also always to realizing, now it's my time. Now it's my time for self-empowerment, to raise myself. And this is a very important message. First of all, before we do anything, to see how can I empower myself, when there is so much we can do, and there is so much and simple techniques we can do. We have here at the Heart Math Institute, for example, the inner self-empowerment, to get out of this fear, the emotion of fear, to turn fear into power. And this is what we can do. And then step by step, we will be inspired what to do next, to whom to speak, what to do, to write a book, to speak up, to do a video, and so on. Yes, this is what we can do when we really recline to ourselves, our heart, and get our inner power activated to do whatever we want to do, and whatever is on our heart. And when it comes to India, may I just say this, it's very, let's say, I wouldn't say disturbing, but you can say disturbing, to see how much polarity there is. Yeah, when I hear the stories of these ladies, which are very moving, and my heart goes out with every compassion for what you've been through. And on the other hand, ever since I read, for example, the autobiography of a yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda, this has changed my life. And this has, this is the India I carry in my heart. This is the India I'm promoting into the world. This is how I live. Lots of, the spirituality and the scientific approach to spirituality and to self-empowerment. This is what my India is all about. So this is something, I think this is even more powerful than all these, disturbing stories we hear, which of course need to be addressed. And lastly, when I'm certainly by your side to promote your message and your book, and I can make just a little technical advice, probably Sangeetha, even doing an audiobook, Audible. I love Audible. I'm always running around with my earplugs when I walk my dogs. I love Audible, and maybe even recording the book and publishing this in Audible or YouTube even, so people can hear it while walking and so on. So this is also something I would do to encourage you to, and to stay in touch, of course. Yeah.
Oh, what a great idea, Britta. Thank you. That's a great idea. That I will be looking for that on audio. And Britta, would you please put your information again for Heart Math in the chat box, so that we can, everyone can have access to that. That is such powerful work that she is doing, and it is so beneficial to everyone. I have just dipped my toe in, and it just knocks me out. I'm sure we're all learners, we're all seekers, we're all searchers, we're all on a journey here. This is what brings us together, I think, that we all have this desire to learn more and grow and expand and make a difference in the world. And so I know that for me, I can sometimes be overloaded with too much information, but I do know this. I know that Heart Math has, it hits every chord of truth in my body when I saw that. And by the way, for those of you who don't yet have Sangeetha's book, when you go on Amazon to buy it, I just want to point out that at least the way when I searched it, it looked like the book was $235. It was actually 235 rupees, or for the hardback, and it was, I know, and for the Kindle version, it was 92 rupees. I'm still thinking US dollars, and I'm thinking $92 for a Kindle book? This must be a really good book. But I called my friend who is Indian, and I asked her to please convert for me or tell me what it was. And so I realized that the Kindle version, something in the US dollars, is like $3 or something. It's actually less than that, but they marked it up. But still, it's so affordable. It's the kind of thing I want to know all my friends. I want to know how I send them a free Kindle version of this book. So I can be sending that to so many people at $3 a piece. That could be my gift. I give, like everyone I know. But I am with Britta. I think that is an awesome idea to do an audio version. I don't know how to help you with that. I'm going to try to do some research. We have a studio in our house here. We have a broadcast quality studio, but you're over there and I'm over here. So I don't think there's any way to help you. However, I think there could be some coaching or advice that either I or KT, who, like I said, is a filmmaker, and she certainly knows production. So she has maybe some information on how to do that or some other avenues. KT, is there anything you think you might be able to help her with making that, creating that?
Yeah, is this something that you think you'd like to do, Sangeetha, is make an audio book?
To be really honest, I self-published, and I don't know how expensive this is going to be, but yes, I'd absolutely love to do it. But beyond this, if you really want to help, I have another story. The entire manuscript is ready, and it's a heartbreaking story about, again, a voiceless woman in India. She was bought and sold 3 times. She became a baby-making machine at the age of 17. She lived almost in a prison-like situation in an NGO for about 4.5 years. She decided at the age of 21 to rebel and have a hysterectomy to stop her own trauma. It's an incredibly powerful, moving story. It's happening to about 200,000 women in my country at the moment. So if anyone's interested in either publishing that or turning it into a movie, I would be so grateful, because this is the most marginalized human being on the planet at the moment that we're talking about. So if I could talk to somebody about that, I'd love to be able to have a chat about that sometime.
What did you say, KT?
I'd like to read the story very much, and I will certainly pass on your name and your book to my friends in Los Angeles. I have a friend from India who is she works for she does all the marketing for major Hollywood films and goes back to India every year. Her father's from India, and I know she would love to see your book. And yes, I'm starting a new film company actually, but I'm not sure what our opening projects are going to be, but I'm always looking, and for me, these vital stories about a woman's journey to empowerment and finding her voice are the most important stories to be told. We are the guardians of life.
We are. And we need more women. We need more female filmmakers. We really do.
We do.
We really need this. This is vital, because, as you said, you are the torchbearers of the stories of humanity at the end of the day.
But, with an audiobook, you can go, what's so wonderful about technology now is there's so much you can do for very little. Like you could literally your laptop, read your book aloud and put it on YouTube, and it could, who knows how it might spread. Or you could, this is a more professional mic that is not that expensive. If you found a grant for female writers or something like that, you can record, like if you have a Mac computer, there's a thing that comes with it called GarageBand. That's a little recording studio where you can mix and add reverb and add all the music and things like that. And you can take your time. And I know Linda is doing quite a lot of work now with her new TV studio that gives us the opportunity to reach out across the world in more and more ways. And so if you have a phone, there's so much capability in your hand with a phone that you can record and share with the world your story. So, from very small attempts to, big professional attempts, that they're all worth pursuing, in my opinion. Linda, would you agree?
I agree 100%. And that's the beauty of all this. It's you speaking to just this few people that makes everyone get excited and start talking to other people. It's you turning it into an audiobook, which truly is simple. I mean, it's just simple. And then and in your voice, with you reading it, I'm riveted already. Just thinking about you reading your book.
I would not even attempt to read this whole thing out. You know, at my first book launch, I made somebody else do my readings because I was just so convinced that my voice was not the one to be reading these stories. I'm great at writing. I'm not so sure if I'm that great at speaking, to be honest.
Oh, you sound beautiful and wonderful right here. But, you know,
Thank you.
So maybe you would find another Indian woman.
I'm sure I can, yes.
Skilled at reading like that, and they would read the book for you. And here's what I would be, I'm telling you to be unabashed about asking. You're teaching the world how to be unabashed about asking. I was going to say be unabashed about asking for them to contribute it, to let that be their contribution to this. So that you don't have to spend money, so that you can say, would you like to be a part of this, of making this difference in the world? And your contribution could be to read my book. Well, that's not that hard, you know?
Linda, would you like to read my book and turn it into an audible?
I would do it in a heartbeat, but I'm not Indian. I would, my thought was, of course, to say I would do it in a heartbeat. But KT, am I correct? It needs to be read by an Indian woman.
Oh, yes.
I agree. It does. It absolutely does. It requires the Indian voice.
Lovely. I would love to hear your voice. It's melodious. It's authentic, and it comes from a very deep place. But I hear what you say. You have to feel, but you might read a little bit and see what you think. There's, you know, you might be much better than you realize. Like, I've been reading some quotes that I think Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, was saying, sometimes even if we think we're not ready and we think we're not powerful, the fact of the matter is we're much more powerful than we think, as you have shown writing this book, and will as it goes forward. So
thank you. It's very, very encouraging. Thank you. It means a lot, and I think it's very good advice. I'm definitely going to look into it, and as soon as I have some movement on that front, you both and Amina will be the first ones to know. Britta, just to sort of address your earlier question, while I might come across as some sort of India bashing person, there are great things about my country that I am incredibly proud of. I had access to a British passport some years ago, and then access to a Belgian passport, and I decided not to take either one up because I wanted to retain my Indian passport, because my country does not allow dual nationality. I'm very proud of my country. We have an incredible tradition of spirituality, an incredible tradition of different philosophical schools of thought that I embrace very dearly in my life. And we are a generous, friendly, fairly fun people, and we have great food. So just to address that.
Absolutely, yeah. It has changed my life, or contributed so much value to my life.
Yes. I'm so glad to hear that. But this is the beauty of the world we live in today. We can take from each other's cultures. We can blend together. We can, you know, become this incredible cornucopia of wonderful things that we learn from each other. And that's what I love about being part of this day and age, I think.
It's often those who love their country the most who most want to change it and make it
absolutely, absolutely. Well said. Thank you. Yes.
And lastly, one more idea, because I think I'm at times a bit of a hobby podcaster, so I'm familiar with talking and recording and making videos out of you know, whatever is coming creatively to my mind. What I could do if I could actually create, because I obviously have a German accent, I could create the German version, maybe some kind of podcast, like chapter by chapter, translating, and then doing a podcast in German.
That would be absolutely amazing. And also, just to let you know, that would mean a lot to me, because my mother actually grew up in Germany. She grew up in Frankfurt.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. So there's a bridge as well. There's some kind of an energetic bridge.
And
so let's see what...
This is what happens when you put together a diverse group of women from all over the world, who at first glance you think, what do they have in common? We now know. And so I just have to take Ace, I think you have something to say too. Yes.
Yeah, I want to just share something with Sangeetha. Like Britta was like requesting, like, or asking if you are interested in like German, if you want to make it in German. My great grandfather lived in India, and I visited India so many times, and I know the culture. I know how it is like very rich, yet there is things that we need to work on to make it like, more authentic and stronger. And we are always proud of our country and identity, but we are always also like to present our culture and our identity in the best way that we could. So I am very close to your culture. My father studied in India, and he was a pharmacist. Yes. And my mother taught in India as well.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, and I speak Urdu a bit. I understand very well, but I speak.
Wallah hai hayati, that is amazing.
So please, yeah, and I would be even interested to translate it in Arabic if you are interested. And I have been, listened to Elizabeth Gilbert so many times. She inspired me so much. I used to play her audios because I didn't have time to read while going back and forth from work. So it really made a big difference in my life. So if you are going to do it, you have all the support from me and Britta.
I am so grateful to every one of you ladies here. This gives me hope. And often that's what lacks in my life. This gives me a lot of hope. I'm so grateful to all of you. And mostly I'm so grateful to Amina for bringing us all together, for believing in my book, for believing in me. Linda, you're a host of some distinction, I have to tell you.
Thank you so much.
Seriously.
This has been my honor. I'm you know how you meet people in life sometimes and you walk away and you think, I was supposed to meet her. I don't know why, but I was supposed to meet her. Well, I sort of feel like that with you, Sangeetha. I really do. I felt the same way with Britta and Asa when I first met them on this call, but Sangeetha, for sure, you are doing amazing work. And you just said something that I want to address before we let everyone go. You said, thank you for giving me hope, because sometimes that's hard to find. And I know this to be true firsthand, because I suffered from depression when I was in my early 20s, and I was very suicidal. And I remember when you said those words, I remembered that the most frightening thing was that I didn't have hope. I didn't think there was no hope. I couldn't possibly make it for another day. And I had no hope that I could make it for another day. And that is so debilitating. But here's the difference. I did not have a community of people like you. I didn't have that then. I was all alone. And here's the amazing news. You are not alone. Oh, not only are you not alone, you are gathering this crowd of people behind you who are like cheering you and holding you up. And we all want to be there for you in any way. I put my contact information in there. Everyone else did. So anything you need, I don't care what it is, morning, noon, night, forget time zone differences. Just give us a text or a call. And in fact, I might even try to, WhatsApp. I think I have a WhatsApp account, and that's probably the best way to reach people.
WhatsApp is a great way to connect. It's really simple.
When I went to Kuwait, I activated my account, and I don't even know where it is now. But of course, I didn't know where my Kindle account either was. So I will go find all that out now. Does anyone have anything else that you would like to add to this conversation? Rennie, Claria, anybody? Okay.
I would just like to thank Sangeetha for this, for writing my story. I don't know, otherwise I don't think so it would have ever come out. So thanks to Sangeetha that it's out there. And as I said, people can, read this. And as I said again, if it can change one person's life, I think that's all that matters. Absolutely. Thank you, Sangeetha.
Thank you, Rini. Thank you. Seriously, your bravery is incredible. You are just one of the most amazing women I know, and I hope you know that. And Clary is just my hope for India's future.
I was going to say, Clary, you're the young one in our group, and you have such a beautiful spirit, and you're so brave, and you're standing up, and you are our future. So thank you for the example that you're setting for everyone in your generation.
Thank you. Because what I believe is we cannot change the generation that is right now. I cannot change my parents. I cannot change my relatives. But what I can do is what I can contribute to the society is I can teach the younger generation, because when they grow up, they can be better parents. They can create a better environment. And so that is what I do through my NGO. I go to schools, I visit orphanages, I teach children about sex education, about menstrual health, about career guidance. And I believe, if we do this, we leave better people for the planet. Because we always talk about leaving a better planet for the next generation. But I feel we need to leave better people for the planet.
I like that. That's
beautiful.
Thank you also to Amina for making this happen. This has been one of the most exciting projects that I've ever been a part of, because I get to meet amazing women like all of you. And now we're all connected. So I'm going to be writing down, before I go, every single solitary person's contact information on there. I put my website in there, and it's got my email address in there. So if you want to pop in there, please feel free to do so. KT, Curran, thank you for being here and lending your voice. Oh,
such a joy. I'm so inspired by all of you. And Linda, Amina, thank you for inviting me.
And of course, Britta and Asa, thank you for being here. Rennie and Clary, because I'm trying to shorten it now the way Sangeetha does. So it's Clary, right? Okay, I'll take that. So thank you all so much. Amina, do you have anything to add? Would you tell us what's coming up next week?
Yes. First of all, before I tell you what is going to happen next week, I want to show one small Indian girl here beside me. This is Zoya.
Hi.
And because I'm visiting their house, so Zoya is here beside me. You can say some words.
Hi.
Hi there.
Zoya.
So she is living in Bahrain. She was born in Dubai, but living in Bahrain. So yeah, their family, I have known all these 11 years. I have been living in Bahrain. So yeah, this is Zoya. So
wonderful. Hi Zoya, welcome.
From India, living in Bahrain. Yeah.
So nice to meet you.
You too.
So next time
to meet you.
Next time we will go to Saudi Arabia. Now we were in India. Today we were in India. Thanks to Sangeetha, my lovely Sangeetha. Thank you so much. And
I do love you.
You're amazing. I'm looking forward to you to come to Bahrain. But
can't wait. I really can't wait.
So, but next time we will travel to Saudi Arabia and we will have a look what is under the abaya.
Ooh.
This is something totally different. So now we got acquainted with India a bit, from not the best, how to say, part, but anyways, this we have to take up all these problematic things to solve the problematic things. But next time we go to Saudi Arabia, so please join us to see what is under the abaya.
Under the abaya. Okay, I will be looking forward to that one. I want to thank you all so much for being here today. And Amina, you and I will stay on and talk for just a moment. Yes. And then the rest of you all, I hope to see you come back and visit other sessions. Come back and be in more sessions with us. We would love to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. And I'll be in touch with each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Good night from India, and God bless each and every one of you.
Sangeetha. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night from Bahrain. And thank you all the lovely ladies. You are really amazing. All of you. You are like pearls, and you see this is like a chain of pearls. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.